G'day everyone, how's it going? Having a good morning? Bit of brekkie, bonza, all of this Australian jargon. Yeah, I truly hope you have a U-Butte and an excellent conference. Let me just turn down the Australian a little bit. I'm pretty excited to be here. I threw out a few Australian terms just to sort of create that sort of auditory hook, just to draw you in. Hopefully draw you in and not alienate you. But I also have another motivation behind that, and that is one of the things that we have found as we've traveled the world, especially more recently, is no one calls anything in forestry really the same thing. So we come across from our territory and we use the term e-docket, okay, for representing what logger had created. But we were told when we got here, it's load slip. Better start using load slip in North America. I think probably some of you have got a smile on your face because you know, no, in this territory it's a TC, in this territory it's a ticket, in this territory. So even within the North American market, the terms differ. So I only do that just to say, if you spot anything that you don't understand, seek me out afterwards, but also give me a little bit of grace in that I'm probably going to use some terms that you go, I wonder what he means there. Yeah, I do hope you truly have an excellent time at the conference. I'm talking about product, and I should understand that my clicker is working. Now, just as a brief introduction, just to give you some facial recognition, could I just get the people that are within the product function just to stand up and you can glance at them, because I want and encourage you to be able to talk to them. So we've got Mike, Simon, we've got Carlos there, who have we got? We've got Jason over there in the dark, and Mariev up the corner there. And Craig also is a significant representation of product from a logger perspective. So certainly I don't think I missed anyone here. Please go and talk to them, tell them your stories, tell them your pain points. So I am going to be talking a little bit about the intelligence platform that we're on the roadway to being able to create. And there are two flavors really, two sides of the coin to be able to cover off. And I'm going to be covering off the first one, which is product methodology. And then I'll hand over to Parag, and he will take over after the break to tell you about the technology side. And where I want to start is to just give you some context that I'm calling our 5 product pillars. I'm going to give you a little bit of philosophy behind our mentality, what we want to be able to approach you with, how we want to work, so that you can understand that we've actually got quite a I guess layers of complexity that build up to an excellent picture of how we're going to shape the product to suit your needs across time. So with the 5 product pillars, we'll start with a foundational product operating model. What I mean by this is Remsoft is truly going to be able to have not just the people that I asked to stand up before, but we're going to actually make sure that we have this company be able to draw in from all aspects of interface, whether or not it's starting right at the sales point, coming into customer service, implementation and rollout teams. We're going to be collecting key product signals as we go, bringing them in, drawing them in. Another, almost stepping into the technology space, you'll see a little bit of overlap between my and Parag's, hopefully in a positive reinforcing way. But certainly we understand that our application is within an ecosystem already, our set of applications and our capabilities. We don't intend to not play well with other people. In fact, I think we are where we are is because it plays very nicely already with a whole lot of other applications, both in terms of people that are other applications in the industry, but certainly even homegrown integrations and the like within your organizations. API first is definitely something that we intend to pursue very heavily. Modularity kind of stems from that, the idea that not everyone has the same practices, not everyone will necessarily need the same components of what we do. If you take one aspect of a Remsoft capability, then you will be well served. If you take 2, I'm sure we can bring synergies between them. But if you don't need 3, 1 and 2 can't be compromised because you don't have 3. This is very important to me to be able to make sure that we have a robust set of capabilities and systems that continue to play nice. Practical. We could literally with software, and probably at increasing rates because of what AI represents, create software starting to become at the speed of thought. Okay, if you can think about it, pretty soon some of you will even be able to ask of your AI representation, and it will generate software in the background, whether or not you realize it. So what we want to concentrate on is the very practical elements. We're going to try and stick to doing things that are very meaningful. The last one, and I don't think it will ruffle feathers, but hopefully it puts a little bit of nervousness up into the whole team. And that is, we want to make sure that what we bring to you, especially as we create new value, gets to you faster. But we also want our applications to deliver value to you as fast as we can. So if you put in an application, we don't want you on an 8 to 12-month journey of complete setup. We want to continue to work on our applications, to fast track things through the use of AI, to be able to start delivering value to you much sooner. I'm going to reiterate these things just to be able to make some of these messages come home. So to talk a little bit about our co-innovation model. So if you think about it in a pictorial sense, what we have is we have what is represented with your daily workflows, the things that you do in your organization. And then we pair that with a mentality in this operating model that I was talking about, where we're going to come to you with humility and with listening ears to try and understand what troubles you and what we need to do to be able to make what we produce more meaningful for you. With that, we should be able to hit some fairly innovative positions and to be able to match our capabilities with your requirements much better. And in the end, we'll have that point of success between those two sides of the product operating model. This is definitely a mandate. We're going to be equipped with questions. You're going to have us ask a deeper question if you come to us with a product request. We're going to actually want to understand what your motivation is and what the outcome is that you desire from a product request, not just, can you do this? And that way we will create more meaningful outcomes. Moving on to the openness and the AI, the API readiness, in particular, as you've heard through Kevin's presentation, the idea of being able to use agents. So a lot of what we do, and Parag would definitely go into this in a greater level of detail, is to be able to keep a real world set of cascading events coming through as signals within our whole ecosystem that we are able to use to make sense of what is happening in your real world. If you think about the speed and what Kevin was talking about and what AI is going to be able to do in its agency, it needs to have the signals that we as humans see in the real world replicated into the digital. If we can't represent the real world into the digital, then the AI agents are stuck and starved for information. And if you think about how fast your best person is within the organization about taking on information and then generating an outcome, just imagine when it is powered by AI, how fast, how frequent, how up to date that data needs to be. So as an event occurs, we've got regular people, especially within your organization, the people that are closest to it, planning, they're able to actually see the outcome and adjust accordingly. We've been talking about mentioning the multi-party. We want to be a connected ecosystem where your partners down the chain and their partners beyond that can start to get an insight at the planning stage and even as the events happen to be able to also make adjustments. Bring that in and put the third level of AI automation. This information will be able to power the capability of the agents that are going to be able to work on our behalf. They could be your agents, they could be our agents, both of them working in partnership. So Just to summarize that, key takeaway is an event-based data flow, and it's going to ensure that every node, okay, so whether or not that's a human or an AI, is operating with the same picture. This is sometimes considered a feature, is modularity and scalability of the application. So we start with modularity. What we mean by that is a whole lot of different capabilities and workflows that are in each of the applications that we offer as Remsoft. And on the other side, as you grow in your need, as we explain the benefits for all of the modules and the capabilities, then you can take them on. But how does that work in a larger ecosystem? It's going to have a very, very strong Remsoft core. And that is a set of services, so it doesn't matter which of the applications you start with. If you bring on more capability, it is already set to go and be able to use information that you've been building up across the first number of years of your use of one of the applications. And so therefore it will grow and be able to take on a whole lot of other key capabilities, other ERPs, definitely, AI, third-party agents, your agents. We are going to be able to bring AI layers at many different capabilities, because it's not just one type of AI. I'm sure you're starting to become aware of that, as we all are. So it could be at a very low level. Then we'll have our own agents. We'll have agents that can talk to your agents. Internet of Things of data, we've already talked about telematics. If we can wire up anything that can contribute data to the equation, then we actually have that event-driven data flow more complete. And of course, not least by being last, is the Remsoft solutions themselves, being able to plug into this solid core. And we want to still keep in mind that we're not trying to build a silo here. Okay, so we are building additional nodes to be able to cooperate with what you already have. As I mentioned, we could, with the amount of things that are within the portfolio now, that is growing at a phenomenal rate, we could generate a lot of stuff. But we don't want to just do stuff. We want to actually do the most meaningful things. We need to be able to collect the signals from you, be able to prioritize those, and work on things that provide practical innovation, not just innovation for innovation's sake. Consider blockchain. It's a very important technology. Blockchain as a technology in terms of cryptographic signing for immutability, so therefore you can't compromise the validity of an audit trail or a load ticket or a scale ticket. They're already deployed and used. Do we need a distributed ledger? Do you all want to run a ledger cooperatively within each other just to be able to keep that up to date on computers in your cloud or on-prem, dare I say, to be able to run a distributed blockchain? Not so sure. So it's understanding the practicality of the deployment of these applications and using what is most meaningful. And then hopefully when we do that, we will be solving the right problems. The last of the 5, think of it in terms of graph. So we have on the left, we have the availability, the actionable value. We do, if Kevin didn't explain it, I have to have a little bit of thinking time in between the screen turning on and off here. So if it's a bit disjointed, please excuse. So we've got actionable value on the left, and then we have our timeline on the right. It's not to scale, we've got weeks and we've got months. Now, as I expressed, some applications really ramp up slowly over time. You think about it. How many ERP projects have you heard where someone says, we're going to be highly competitive when the ER project is finished, and the ER project takes 3 years? How much more has a competitor who's been able to do an ERP project in 2 years got a leg up during that time? So we certainly want to be able to understand how to bring, and some of, I guess, what I've been doing across the last 20 years comes into play here, is really trying to understand how we can shape the product itself. So therefore we start to minimize for our own team because mind you, as soon as we save our own team's time, we're going to be able to spend more time doing meaningful things for you, but also yourselves. And so the idea is if we can get a faster on-ramp to value when you take on a Remsoft product, any Remsoft product, then we start to derive values of reduced friction, the lower cost to serve, we'll be able to keep remaining competitive with what we do, and then rapid expansion. Now this is key. If we're talking about you wanting to be able to move fast and to not actually wait, especially in some of the situations where people are taking on as a local industry some of this technology to try and create some standards, you don't want the last player to still have to go through a multi-year journey to be able to get on board. You want everyone to be able to start consuming it as quick as possible. Now to go into a little bit of a highlight in a pictorial fashion of the areas that we actually have as a solution. So you might be accustomed to buying products. We're going to explain what we do in Remsoft in terms of solutions because we already have capabilities within our product range that are complementary and supplementary. So if we talk about products, then we don't give you the best picture. Solutions is where we're going to focus. We have forest management, FMS solutions, okay? So we're going to be able to have, and with the inclusion of Infloor, a very global orientated and globally respected forest management platform. And we're already going to bring in the forest management capabilities, in particular in the GIS space, in our strength in that area, and into the forest management platform. Planning and optimization. So planning, we're thinking long-term. We're thinking about using the likes of Woodstock to be able to generate models that give us the optimized outcome across longer periods of time. We start to cross over at some point in time from the strategic to the tactical. So there will be a blend. And as we've been talking about, some of the technologies that we're bringing out will make that blend easier to be able to then move into operations. And operations is thinking about schedules, thinking about what we're doing across the next quarter, is thinking about how is the month panning out, and it's dealing with what happens within a week. Transport and logistics, having some of the best tools to be able to understand the position of timber, where it is, where are the vehicles that can do something about it, how is a team or a crew doing, what are the machines doing on the landscape, bringing all of that in. Again, there is a blend between what we do in those spaces. MRO, understanding how to optimize and stay working for, without any downtime is a key component of what we do. The last one, and you will start to see this, I think it's on the banner outside, is the focus towards sustainability. That is an outcome that happens after you reach a point where all of these elements put together start to build up a picture of sustainability from the perspective of being kind to this planet, but also sustainability in terms of the governance and the expectations that are going to bring, that the industry, governments, and just generally customers are going to bring to this situation. Now let's flip that. That's the solutions. Let's think about the capabilities behind the solutions. What is it when we talk about these solutions? So if we start, we have real world aware GIS, Internet of Things, GPS. We're going to build the best and most excellent picture about what is happening in the real world. You've heard the term digital twin, again, a little bit of jargon, but if we actually represent digitally the key information, then we can do something with it. Point optimization. We have the power of Woodstock. We can use mathematical solvers to create a provable, optimized result. But why can't all of the applications and all of your applications be able to draw on the power of that remotely within your application space? That's what's going to become possible with the idea of point optimization. Go and certainly see some of the booths around there. Maria will be happy to talk about those aspects. System of record. As I said, we will have a system of record that powers all of the applications. Now, you're still going to have systems of record too. But as I said, we need the applications, as you take them on, to be able to communicate with the same information in a unified fashion. So that will give the application a standardized language, still a language you can adapt and put the layer of your interpretation on, whether or not you need it in French, or whether or not you're just going to call it a TC instead of a load slip. That's up to you. But powering it underneath will be a standardized data model that the Remsoft applications will understand. Or I will certainly go into a deeper level with that. You don't operate in a vacuum. You have customers, partners, contractors. They need to be able to understand, and as certainly as we go into the next level of AI, what is happening in the real world. So being able to have everything be able to contribute this information layer that we're going to be able to draw on. It's an important capability. Traceability from the start. We've seen so many applications as soon as EUDR came out. Some of the biggest noise makers in the space were people that do satellite imagery, and they were saying, we've got your EUDR covered. And that's because they were indexing on the idea of the due diligence. And an end customer, what do they have except for photographs from space of the land to be able to determine what is happening across time? There's an even better source than that, and that is the source of information that you all own. And we want to be able to make sure that when you put that in a reasonable and discrete way, and we've been thinking about it a long time, to be able to understand what you need to be able to propagate forward, to serve those forward in the chain without compromising any of your confidentiality or your key strategic business data. But certainly we want our application, considering it can capture it and it can generate it, to serve you by serving your customers and propagating that forward in a traceable and real world dynamic. And the last of the capabilities is that we want to be agentically able. And that is, there's an interesting dynamic. 30 years ago, during my studies, I was looking at human-computer interactions. We've come a long way from there. It's getting close to human-to-human interaction in what we're doing with AI. It's some of the papers that I read a year ago that was predicting the pace of change. I can go back to those papers and look at what they were predicting that would come about at the end of 2028, and it's already happened. So it's happening at a phenomenal rate, but the good news is it should be the most meaningful and simple way that we humans have ever interacted with computers before. And we certainly want to be able to deliver that in spades. What does this sort of look like if I give you a snapshot of the capabilities, independent of the products? All of the product capabilities are contributing to this map. All of the solution spaces that we have, all of these capabilities can fit into overlapping areas within that solution space. So you can see things from the left to right, the optimization, moving from the strategic to the tactical. Then we've got the land and resource management, core components of the FMS, okay? But not only in the flavor of grow and forest, but also starting at the nursery, going through all the way through silviculture. Outstanding capabilities that we get to bring to the industry. Understanding of inventory. It's a no-brainer, and it's going to be there. Logistics, as we've talked about. Field telemetry. Procurement contracts. Field ops, capturing more data from your people in the field. Traceability, as we've spoken about. Multi-party, I'm guessing. Yes, multi-party. The mill receiving, mill outgoings, even further into the industry. And then, of course, that scale integration, bringing that around. And all of these here are going to share timely data forward and backwards between all the stakeholders. Home stretch, folks. Now, take notes, take photos. This is the roadmap for the year, subject to change, of course. And I've codified it just so that we don't get all distracted. But let me give you a little bit of some highlights. So I went around to each of the team and said, look, just give me some top line items of what it is that we're going to be bringing. So just take notes of things that take your fancy, and certainly talk to the teams out in the hall afterwards. So we're bringing additional GIS capabilities. We're going to have more power to be able to represent activities across any sort of geo shapes, be they polygons, lines, points, and that's really going to open up new GIS capabilities across the suite of solutions. Of course, this one here I could, I was saying I could create a slide deck on this one alone, but Carlos has already done one and he's going to be presenting on that. But now that Infor has joined the team, I'm uber excited about the possibilities of what we can do in bringing them into the fold. Telematics data, we're going to capture so much information, and that information is going to get to the point of being useful faster and faster as we be able to draw on them using technology, be able to bring that in from the field in a, I'll use the term Parag, close to real time, okay? All right, data is never real time, folks, but we want to be able to make it as real time as possible, and everything is going to be able to come up and be homogeneous across the suite of applications. AI in operations, lots of AI layers. They're already starting to happen, and it's incredible about what they're going to be able to do. It makes the mind boggle. Some of the ideas of what you'll be able to do in Remsoft operations and being able to understand where the bottlenecks are and having the AI contribute suggestions and work in partnership with you to be able to do your planning. More analytics at the AI level. We generate a lot of data, so you're going to want to be able to ask questions of the data in a natural language fashion. It doesn't stop there. We add more to the MRO space, chatbots, be able to chat through and understand and spot data issues, inventory risks, and the like. Not to mention that we're able to use AI-powered integrations and be able to bring data in from sources and prepare data to go out to sources much quicker, solving a lot of time for both yourselves if you're self-serving, but also our own staff in being able to help you with more meaningful things and just data manipulation. Big one, point optimization. Very much looking forward to being able to use the power of what Woodstock has been able to do across the last few decades and bring that into all of the applications and draw on it whenever the need arises, and then be able to use, of course, AI on top of that. Point optimization is going to be amazing, but if you haven't seen the progress towards the next generation of the optimization software, definitely go and see Mariev out in the hall and get a little bit of insight, and tomorrow's breakout session will be a highlight. Transport logistics, scheduling loads, going to bring a much more significant level of granularity to the scheduling, but also because it's multi-party, it goes out to the people who can actually also respond on the ground to be able to make use of it. The key to logistics is information availability and truth of the information in a timely fashion. That's only going to become more important even as we get to the automation capabilities of AI. Rates onto the ticket, being able to share the financial information onto the ticket in a secure way in the multi-party sense, whereby one party seeing the representation of a particular load can understand the value of that load or the cost of that load within the system. And of course, sustainability. It's going to generate as an outcome. It's a default, if you think about it, of what we want our systems to generate is this sustainability and governance record that is second to none. Now, just in wrapping, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. This is a sneak peek for even many in Remsoft as well. So if I just wake my laptop, ready to go. Just 1 second. Oh, it's up there. That's right. I was told it wasn't going to appear here. Okay, but I do get to see it on my laptop. What you're seeing here is an appearance, a possible appearance of how we're going to start to unify some of our interface elements, bringing them into the same application. We want you, if you have a look up the left here, to be able to have a single login across our platforms. So that means that you don't have to log in and log out and go to different URLs. We're going to unify that across time so that you can actually have a seamless experience. Your identity will be the same as you switch applications. What you're seeing here is a design system. Colors, button fonts, drawing them in, creating a standardized, measuring up to mobility standards and usability standards, accessibility standards. We don't have drivers that are driving around who are sight impaired. But even for them, we want to be able to have a standard experience so that if they're moving from site to site and making deliveries, they understand how to pace themselves through the applications. So it gives you a little bit of an idea on the look and feel of the application. So this here will then be applied to things, and although the navigation is not real, we do want to be able to create a unified navigation system. So you're seeing here a representation of perhaps what Remsoft operations might look like within a unified look and feel. Moving along, let's move into thinking about our operations, moving into the capabilities that sit within Stratus. And you see, again, a similar common look and feel experience to anyone who needs to be able to switch between these things. The multi-party record, what is generated across the multi-party, so you'll be able to see in a planning sense, but also in an actual sense of what dockets have been created, and explore that across your multi-party record. Go and have a look at some demos out there in the hall about how the multi-party record works, how it actually secures based upon the idea of what paper used to do. If you're a represented party on a piece of paper and you could see the information on that paper, that is the system that is used to build up who can access things within the multi-party. Level any questions you have at us. Weighbridge feed, again, if you're a mill site and you're within the multi-party, you may not be using any of the planning things if you are only a mill receiver, but you're able to still see things. We've got a simulated truck that's on the weigh scale at the moment. That's a little bit of a cat out of the bag, Craig, if you'll see that in the demo tomorrow. And of course, being able to have real-time dashboards, see the information coming in, see what's happening around the country. You've got a little representation of the north part of the island of Tasmania there. So, just in summary, I hope that gives you some insights to how we're thinking about product and what we want to do to be able to move product. I haven't made any outlandish promises because we want to be able to create for you things that are real. But I hope still you get an insight that the mentality is correct and the offering is going to be something that excites you and you're going to be able to grow with Remsoft into the future as we look towards bringing more and more tangible innovation to the space.